Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Shay. If you're new here, hello, welcome. This is day 6 of working with Miss Penny. She is my Mustang from Red Rock Lake, California. I'm training her for the Sacramento Tip Challenge this year. You guys might hear Maddox in the background. He's currently chilling on his playmat, totally comfy, so I figured I'll try to jump on here and at least record the voiceover for part of this video. In this first section, I'm just working on haltering with her. We had just recently taken the halter off within the last couple days, I think, of this video, and so I wanted her to really be used to me walking up, and I ideally wanted her to kind of put her head down like she is now. So anytime that she brings her head down, even if it's sniffing my hands, I wanted to praise her for that. So a lot of stepping forward, stepping back. We did this probably a good 10 times before I actually slipped the halter over her nose. Here she'd actually put her nose kind of in the halter, so I took the initiation to step forward and kind of put her nose into it. And right here you can see my hand on top of her pole. I'm just putting that little bit of pressure there to kind of encourage that downward movement still, because she kind of would get it on her nose and then pop her head back up. So I wanted her to get it on her nose and then kind of relax back into that. Here I just kind of reached over, just an extra little movement. I wasn't really like hanging on her, but just wanted her to know that it's okay for me to reach over her the way I did. I was really curious how she was going to do with any sort of flexion, because obviously with her being so new, she's not really going to be super bendy. So I was curious how she was going to do with this. I wanted to see if she would kind of let me move her head into kind of a flex position, which she did really, really well with. On both sides, she did great. The moment I released was when she started to kind of hold herself, and I wasn't holding her in that position. Here we're just kind of reiterating hooves again, so I pick up the foot, kind of slap it around, make sure that she's cool with all the noise and the motion, a little bit of the feeling of me slapping on her feet.
Yes, good girl. Good. Good girl. Ooh. Ooh. Good job. Good.
We kind of moved into a little bit of lunging. Like I've discussed in previous videos, I kind of feel like I asked a lot as far as forward movement and impulsion from her, and in this clip I don't know that I totally think that that's what this is. I think she was kind of trying to figure out what I'm asking. I do wish that I hadn't done so much with my body, so I can use the whip and the clucking, but the raising my arms and kind of bigger movements, I feel like if I had just kept with the consistent movement of the whip, we eventually would have gotten forward movement. Again, kind of that bigger movement. I wish that I just kept consistent and kept the same cue over and over until she figured out that that was forward. guys can also see here, I didn't mention yet, but I've got a bunch of stuff hanging on the fence, and what I really like to do is when it comes to new objects, get them kind of up close to the fence and let her figure them out.
So my sister just called me, interrupted recording and working with the horse to tell me that we are Finnish, Italian, Chinese, something else. I don't know. Apparently we are the ultimate melting pot, I guess. Cool.
I felt like that was necessarily been there. I thought it was funny. So here we're just going back to a little bit of round pen work. She hadn't really used the ground pull yet, so she wasn't too sure what I was asking her, which was super cute.
Okay, good girl.
But she really quickly figured out that she could just kind of trot over it. She didn't have to run into it.
Yes,
I wanted her to kind of turn in a little bit right there, so as soon as she gave me her head, I gave her a lot of praise for it.
Hey.
That was one of the first kickouts, and it may have looked like I was hitting her butt with the whip. I didn't. I just was kind of swinging it behind her. I'm also going to listen to my dogs that are losing their minds because I don't usually have a horse behaving this way. Sage doesn't act this way. So when she decided to kick out, my response then was, okay, let's work. If you want to kick out, be a little bit more aggressive, then we're going to turn this into a little bit more work. As soon as the work was done, we settled back down into a nicer pace, but I wanted to make sure she was still turning and stopping when I asked her and doing things the correct way. You can see she's definitely quieted a lot back down now. I'm still asking for that trot, but I'm not asking for a lot of energy at that point.
Good. Moose.
I was just taking the whip at this point to kind of lay it over her, get it to tap her on the belly, and start to get used to a few different movements. Just a little bit of desensitizing with the whip. I don't want her to be scared of the whip necessarily. I want her to see the whip as a tool. So I was making a ton of noise with it and just kind of seeing her response. You could see her head's kind of up in the air, but she still was really paying attention, pretty quiet about everything. Here I'm doing a little bit more desensitizing just with the lead rope. So I want her to be really calm and quiet about things swinging over her face, especially if anything were to happen where I needed to rope her. I'm not very good at roping, but someone else might be. And so if they needed to rope her, they can without her, losing her ever-loving mind over it. You can't see it all that great, but the lead rope gets stuck on her right ear, and I let it just kind of sit there for a minute, kind of touch her nose with the lead rope until I take it off.
All right, Mama.
This is just a folded up towel. It's not very big. It's already half a towel, and then I folded it up pretty small too. I just wanted her to get used to something different. This was something that we hadn't done yet as far as touching her with things other than like grooming tools. And I guess a towel is kind of a grooming tool, but I wanted her to kind of smell things on her own. So I kept it nice and small first, let her see something that's little so that it's not as scary. I would go over and pet, let her smell it, and then back off again. Let that release be from me backing off and taking the object away. This was the first touch other than her just trying to sniff it, so I just kind of went with her when she backed up, and then when she settled back down, I backed off. She did really, really well with this. I was really surprised that it didn't take her very long to settle with this and it not be a detrimental thing for her, so I was able to just kind of walk up and pet her with it. I did end up doing this on both sides, so keep that in mind. I didn't just only do it on one. Once I felt like she was pretty comfortable with me touching her with it, I decided to open it up a little bit more. I didn't open it very far. It's kind of like a quarter size of a towel right now. But I just wanted to touch her with something that's a little bit bigger this time. It kind of flaps in the wind. It doesn't just sit still in that little bundle. You guys can hear me say there, oh, look at all those lip twitches. I'm looking for any sort of reaction from her. I really like to see a lot of movement in the muzzle because that's usually an indication that they're processing everything. Here, I just kind of asked her for something a little bit different, a little bit of that downward pressure to get her to relax again, and while that towel was touching her. I put the towel over her back and just kind of went back to that downward pressure, just super light, get her to relax again. You can see she's pretty dang quiet with this, which I really, really, really appreciate from her. So I just took the towel off intentionally to have it fall. I wanted her to have something falling off of her and her not have a big reaction. I wasn't expecting her to just stand there. So I kind of touched it a little bit, backed off, and let her investigate it on her own. This is huge. I recently went to a obstacle play day, and I believe the gal's name is Laura Ponter, but she talks a lot about how the horse's brain works, and I always knew that licking and chewing was important, but I never totally understood why. And it does have to do with how they process everything, but it also is a dopamine release. So if your horse is ever like investigating something new and they go to eat something on the ground, don't necessarily stop them because they're trying to find that chew response for the dopamine release. I was really, really impressed that she now has a towel on her back. And obviously it's super lightweight, but she just walked with it, no big deal. We picked up the trot. I was also really annoyed because it wouldn't fall off. Here I just set it on where it was going to fall off. And she had a great reaction. Just kind of stopped, settled. You could see that she got a little bit tense, but it wasn't anything huge. She didn't take off. She stopped to smell the towel, and that was it. I wanted her to kind of move away from it a little bit and then trot over it and just kind of bypass it. If she stopped to smell it, that's okay, but I want her to just kind of be like, oh, it's just something else on the ground, no big deal. At this point, we had already put, you can see my jacket is moved, but we'd already put that on her. Basically went through the same process as the towel. But I wanted her to investigate this bag, and she loses her marbles over it. This bag is just a bag that was from the Timothy pellets that I've got, and so it kind of smells like Timothy pellets, which isn't a bad thing. I mean, I wanted her to eat the Timothy pellets anyway.
You're the one that threw it. You threw it, not me. That was on you. I just let go.
So basically, after she lost her mind over the fact that she threw the bag, I walked back up to her, kind of let her smell it again, let her reinvestigate it. But by that point, I think she just wasn't interested anymore. So she kind of started to smell the saddle pad. I wanted to bring her attention back to me and the bag, but she just kind of kept going back to the saddle pad. So at this point, I'd let her kind of smell it a few times if it was on the fence and kind of brought it up to her to smell it. And she really didn't mind very much. I think it was partially just because we'd just done so much with the towel. I didn't think that she was really going to care about the saddle pad. So I just kind of rub her with it, gently set it on her back, no big deal. And you can see her kind of turn around to investigate it, but she really didn't mind it. And at least that smells more like a horse than the towel did, so I feel like that was also part of it.
For this side, you can check it out. What is this?
Here, I just was making some noise with it. I was kind of wrinkling the leather that was on it a little bit, tapping the pad. It's just a different sound. And this is where we kind of ended our session. I let her go back to investigating that bag, and I figured at this point it was better to kind of investigate it on her own without me holding it. And she ended up finding out that there were definitely pellets in there, and so she really liked it. That's pretty much the end of today's video. You guys will see the rest of her kind of sniffing the Timothy pellet bag, but I really hope you guys enjoyed it. We are making tremendous progress. The fact that I hadn't even had the horse for a week and we were this far, I just felt so good about the progress that we were making. And her in general, she's just incredible, and I say that every time. But I hope you guys enjoyed it. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment down below, and we'll see you in the next video. Bye, guys.